So let me get this straight. David Ellison, whose daddy is worth around $250 billion. Yeah, I said it, trillion with a T, just got rejected by Warner Brothers Discovery again for the 8th time. Yeah, 8. And at this point, my guy, it's not persistence. It's a restraining order with a ticker symbol. But here's where it gets spicy. Jared Kushner's firm, yes, the son-in-law of the president, well, they've already backed out of the bidder group. Gulf Money has been sniffing around, and now the WBD board is calling this whole thing the largest leveraged buyout in history. And they're also basically saying Paramount is a litigious counterparty that can't stop threatening lawsuits. This is a corporate soap opera that would make HBO proud, which, by the way, is ironic because HBO is literally what everyone's fighting over. So let's break it down. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Critical Nerd channel. If you're a returning subscriber, you already know the drill. We don't do PR spin, we do receipts. And if you're new here, stick around, check the video out. If you like what you see, if you would, do me a couple things, which helps out with the YouTube algorithm and engagement. Smash that like button, subscribe, and and I would recommend subscribing because I've been covering this Netflix WBD saga, which has really turned into Succession with worse haircuts and more bankers. Just saying. So here's the update. As of this morning, January 7th, 2026, Warner Brothers Discovery's board unanimously told shareholders to reject Paramount Skydance's latest tender offer. Paramount Skydance is still pitching $30 a share, all cash, for the entire company, the whole enchilada. Meanwhile, WBD is still backing its signed Netflix deal, where shareholders get $23.25 in cash, plus a target $4.50 in Netflix stock. That's where you get the $27.75 headline in the whole deal of Netflix purchasing WBD. Plus, they keep equity in the cable spinoff, which is going to be Discovery Global, I guess. So if you're doing headline math, well, Paramount looks higher, but WBD is basically saying, yeah, and your financing looks like a Jenga tower built during an earthquake. Now, WBD's letter is brutal, and they're not even being subtle about it anymore. They point out Paramount Skydance is trying to pull this off with massive leverage. $94.65 billion of required debt plus equity financing. More than $50 billion in incremental debt. $87 billion total pro forma gross debt. Roughly 7 times 2026 EBITDA leverage before synergies. And they call it, quote, effectively a leveraged buyout and the largest LBO in history. Let me translate this for you guys in the back. This deal can die in the financing chair. Yeah. Then they do the comparison dunk. Netflix is sitting on an investment grade profile and, according to WBD's letter, has enormous free cash flow expectations for 2026 and a much more conventional structure. And WBD keeps hammering this certainty of closing because if Paramount's lenders get cold feet, or the market shift, or the industry deteriorates, this thing can start renegotiating like it's a hobby. Now, Paramount Skydance, well, they're basically walking in saying, we've got the money. And WBD's like, yeah, okay, but do you though? Or is it vibes at Apollo? Yeah. So here's the part casual viewers miss. Even if Paramount offers $30 cash, WBD is saying switching horses costs real money. Well, yeah, it does. WBD says if they ditch Netflix, they're on the hook for about $4.7 billion in combined costs, including a $2.8 billion Netflix termination fee, a $1.5 billion debt exchange failure fee, and about $350 million incremental interest expenses, roughly $1.79 per share in pain. So WBD argues Paramount's flashy $5.8 billion reverse termination fee doesn't feel so comforting when the net protection effectively drops way down in a failure scenario. Let me translate this one for you, folks. Your parachute is nice, but we're already on fire. Paramount tried to fix the financing anxiety by adding $40.4 billion in a personal backstop from Larry Ellison for the equity portion. But here's the catch. WBD's filings raise concerns about how that guarantee is structured, specifically pointing to it being tied to a revocable trust structure where assets and liabilities aren't publicly disclosed and can change. And then the gloves come off. WBD Schedule 14D-9 goes after Paramount's behavior. It describes Paramount as a counterparty that has threatened litigation, and it alleges multiple NDA breaches, including concerns raised in a lawyer-to-lawyer call on November 23rd, 2025. So WBD is painting a picture like, well, even if you could finance it, you'll lawyer us to death from signing to closing. Oh, and yeah, there's one more layer in all this. Affinity Partners, Jared Kushner's firm, the aforementioned son-in-law of the president, previously involved in the bidder mix, said it's no longer pursuing the opportunity, essentially signaling the dynamics changed and they're out. Meanwhile, Reuters has previously reported interest participation from Gulf Capital in the broader takeover drama around these bids, which means WBD, the owner of CNN, Warner Brothers HBO, is sitting at the center of a bidding mess that's part Wall Street, part Hollywood, and part geopolitics. I mean, it's cool. It's super normal and nothing to see here. Now, we need to talk about the elephant in the room, though. That's the regulators. Regulators, the government. More specifically, the U.S. government. This Netflix deal is going to be reviewed in the U.S. and abroad, and Netflix has said it's engaging with competition authorities, including filings required for review. And President Trump, well, he has publicly signaled he intends to be involved in major deal approvals and antitrust decisions, especially ones that look like they reshape American media power. Add to that, critics and lawmakers have already been making noise about consolidation and market power concerns around big tech plus entertainment tie-ups. So even if WBD says regulatory risk isn't the differentiator, the reality is nobody knows what the ref crew is going to call until the game is over. So what happens now? There's this little deadline of January 21st hanging out there, which is in 2 weeks. The practical next step, shareholders have until January 21st to decide whether to tender into Paramount's offer, even as WBD's board is telling them, don't do it. And there's another wrinkle. Cable valuations. Comcast cable spinoff Versant just started trading, I believe it was yesterday, and got smacked down about 13% early in its public debut window. That matters because Netflix's deal structure includes WBD's cable networks getting spun into Discovery Global, and Paramount has been arguing that cable is worth less than WBD wants to pretend. WBD's counter is basically, our cable company's bigger, more global, and better positioned than a straight competition. But either way, Versant face planning on day one is not a great ad for trust us, cable's fine. So the bigger picture here. Well, if you zoom out, this is the entire industry admitting the quiet part out loud. Linear cable television, it's declining. Studios are drowning in cost. Everyone wants scale, and now Netflix, the company that started by mailing DVDs to your house, could end up owning one of the most iconic content libraries in history. If the Netflix deal closes, Netflix gets the studio and streaming crown jewels. Paramount, well, they want the whole company. But with an LBO style structure, the WBD is basically calling a financial grenade with the pin halfway out. So WBD picked the quote unquote safer bidder, less headline cash, more certainty, less financing drama, and they're betting the market will accept that logic. Whether shareholders agree, well, that's what we're going to find out in a couple weeks on January 21st. All right, everyone, that's the latest. Paramount gets rejected again. WBD doubles down on Netflix, and the whole thing is barreling toward a regulatory knife fight and a shareholder deadline. Drop your take in the comments below. Do you back the bigger cash, bigger risk Paramount play or the safer Netflix takeover of the crown jewels? If you enjoyed this breakdown, again, do me a favor. It helps out with the YouTube algorithm. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you don't miss my next video, because I'll keep covering every twist in this corporate telenovela. I'm the Critical Nerd. I'll see you in the next one.